If it's your kid asking, it's annoying. If it's a billion people across the globe, it's a challenge and responsibility. Farmers feeding the world. It's about agriculture coming together to increase both hunger solutions and food production. Please learn more and give generously.
Congressman Desjarlais, welcome.
Thank you.
What inspired you to run for the United States Congress?
I think the biggest thing was that in my medical practice, I noticed patients started talking more about politics instead of normal day-to-day activities such as fishing, hunting, football, grandchildren, and so on. And the conversations just turned much more political, and I noticed that I was getting very engaged in these and spoke with my wife about the possibility of running and decided to run to see if we could make a difference for our children and grandchildren and also our veterans that fought so hard to make this country what it was.
So was that during the health care debate of a year or so ago?
Well, the health care debate certainly came into play after I decided to run. It's a topic I was very comfortable with, and it actually helped me as a first-time candidate have something to talk about. So I was definitely very passionate about the healthcare law changes and very much opposed to what we see in the Obamacare bill.
What did your constituents send you here to do?
Well, basically cut spending and get government out of the way. I think people feel like their freedoms are being taken away. The country is, as everyone knows, in terrible shape in terms of finances and just seems to show no signs of stopping. So creating jobs, cutting spending, and getting the economy back on track were the big things.
And to what extent has this House enjoyed success in reaching those goals?
Well, I think that we're getting a lot of people's attention in terms of success being 1/3 of the process. We haven't gotten nearly as far as we'd like to, but I think that we have changed the conversation from spending to cutting spending, and it's clear that we're not going to accept anything less. We're not achieving the goals as quickly as we like because there's a lot of resistance on where to cut, but I think that we will see successes moving forward.
You are a political newcomer. You had never run for elected office before?
That's correct. I've been in medicine all my life, and this is the first time.
What else about your background should we know?
Well,
you're from South Dakota originally, aren't you?
Right. I grew up in rural South Dakota, and my dad was a barber, and my mother was a nurse at a veterans hospital. I started my first job at age 6 shining shoes in my dad's barber shop. I held a job through high school and college at a farm implement dealership and selling International Harvester, New Holland, Farmhand, Versatile, and other lines of farm equipment and parts to our local farmers and ranchers.
What is the secret to getting a handle on healthcare costs in this country?
Well, I think that we need to be able to make insurance companies compete. I think patients need to have skin in the game. They need to have access to health savings accounts. I think that we do need tort reform in medicine. There's an awful lot of defensive medicine that's practiced, and I think that could cut costs dramatically. I think there's overutilization of emergency rooms, and I think pharmaceutical costs continue to be very high, partly because of federal regulations and scrutiny. So I think that in healthcare, maybe more than other areas, we need to look at cost savings as well as cutting spending.
Are there particular challenges facing healthcare in rural areas?
Well, there's a physician shortage across the country, and I think there continues to be so in rural areas as reimbursement continues to drop. A lot of solo practitioners are going out of business because the overhead is too high, so you're forced to see more group practices, and I think that that's a challenge in rural communities.
You're on the House Agriculture Committee. What does that do for your district?
Well, I think it's very good for the 4th Congressional District of Tennessee. We're very agriculturally oriented. My father-in-law nearby has a cattle ranch and raises 300 to 400 head of cattle, so we get involved there, and he doesn't grow many crops but does cut hay. And you know, there's a very large and active Farm Bureau in Tennessee, I think the largest in the country, and it's headquartered in my district in Columbia, and they are great folks. They're a joy to work with. We have a lot of Farm Bureau activities, breakfasts and lunches, always a good place to go. You're always well fed at a Farm Bureau event, but just good people, and I enjoy working with them.
Your district is what, south of the Nashville metropolitan area?
Right, it's south of Nashville, it is west of Chattanooga, it runs all the way to the Kentucky border and down to the Alabama border, and kind of skirts over towards Memphis. So it's the largest district in Tennessee. We have 9 representatives, and our district encompasses a fourth of the landmass, including 21 counties and 3 partial counties.
Your involvement with cattle got me to thinking, makes sense, you being on the livestock subcommittee of the House Agriculture Committee.
That was probably a good place to land. We've even back in South Dakota, a lot of my friends ranched and farmed, so I was fairly active in that through high school, and we did a lot of branding and other things that go along with that particular day for those cattle, vaccinations and whatnot. So yeah, I think that was a good subcommittee to be on, chaired by Rooney from Florida.
Scott, when you want to get away from it all, what do you do?
Well, I spend time with family. That's certainly been the most challenging part of this job, is being away from family. I've got 3 kids and a wonderful supportive wife who I wouldn't be here without, and I do miss that the most. But I have 2 very active hunters. My boys both bow hunt and rifle hunt, so oftentimes I'll be in a deer stand with them. They also like to fish, so we get that in as much as possible. And my 4-year-old daughter thinks that she's going to hunt too. She's already shooting a bow, and my wife actually is an archer as well. So the whole family shoots archery, and we do like to be outdoors.
Tennessee's 4th Congressional District Representative Scott Desjarlais. Mr. Congressman, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.